Sam the lion, the dachshund. We don't know why. He discovers that he's been placed down inside a dogfighting pit opposite a huge pit bull. And here, finally, he knew it was the end of a long, unexpected road. He would go no further. Here I stop, and here I die. And Sam the lion, he's called. He was perfect at one time. He's absolutely, in fact, the most beautiful dachshund probably to ever live. And so I have a beautiful dog that's destined for dog show glory. Meet a little girl that is desperate for love, and something terrible happens, engineered by a guilty third party, which happens to be a large standard poodle named Cassius. And because of Cassius's betrayal, and among other things, he becomes far, far from perfect. In fact, he loses a leg and ends up with a soup ladle as a temporary leg, and goes through the story that way. So he absolutely is the epitome of flawed dog. The crowd hushed into stunned silence as they stared. Then they exploded into twice the frenzy, waving their smelly money harder. The raging dog across the pit twisted against his restraints. It's not a graphic novel, but it's illustrated like they did 100 years ago. You know, Dickens and the rest of them had great classic illustration, a half dozen or more color plate inside a novel, which I still think should be adult novels as far as I'm concerned. He dropped the side of his head flat against the dirt and looked sideways at the end of his world. He looked for something, anything, to fix his eyes on, rather than the drooling, corrupted fighting machine soon to be upon him with his broken fury. I notice it's getting a little bit of controversy in that people are coming to it assuming that it's for the same audience my picture books are for, and Flawed Dogs, the novel, is definitely not. His gaze went up to a single arc bulb overhead, flooding the pit with light. Blue, cold, and blinding. Yes, this would do, he thought. It's perfect for an 8-year-old, 9, 10, 11, 12, but I wouldn't read this in the evening to my 5-year-old. And those differences, now that I have kids that age myself, the difference between 5 and 8, 5 and 7, can be huge in what they're able to synthesize and absorb and process. He traveled back and felt wild grass below his paws and breathed other, less cruel scents on the wind, while he ran in a blur through a forest of exploding dandelions, and he heard her voice calling his name. Sam! Sam the lion! Her voice. Hiding. I started reading the kids' Flawed Dogs in bed every night, and to my massive, unrelenting relief, they were demanding one more chapter each night. So the response was, or maybe they just are playing dad. I don't know. If so, they've done so successfully because they seem to be really enjoying it. That's the idea, is to get the kids unable to wait until they find out what happens in the next chapter. Above in the roiling crowd, the rough-handed man looked down in the fighting pit at the three-legged dachshund lying still on its side, eyes clutched shut, and saw something out of place. He squinted, leaned closer, and looked. No, can't be. Not here, not on the dog. A smile.